Hello, welcome back to my channel and to today's video where I am going to be doing a current season Arket try on. Now, in my opinion, the last couple of seasons at Arket have been a bit of a miss. However, this season, I am really happy to see them return to, shall we say, their former glory, because they are having such a strong season. Now, I've split this video up into categories. We've got 5 categories, so I'm going to start off with the first, which is coats. Now, if you watched my recent high street wool coat try on, you would have seen that only one Arket coat, and technically it was a jacket, made it into that video. And that's because I did set myself a price limit, which was under £230 for all the coats in that video. The reason Arket longer length coats, proper coats, didn't make it into that video is because they are a slightly higher price point. So, for example, this first coat is a wool blend. It's got a 70% wool content and it's £259. And to be honest with you, it looks and feels like it is worth the £259 price tag. Now, it has a button up front, so there's no zips and more importantly, no poppers. And it has a storm flap. So all bar the top button are concealed with that extra flap of fabric that covers over the buttons. This is just a function in order to help you maintain warmth within the coat. So you haven't got any hot air seeping out through the buttonholes. You've got that extra flap of protection. One feature that I always like with coats, it's got angular pockets and they are deep. So you can really bury your hands in there, especially when it's coming up to the winter season and you just want to wrap yourself up nice and snugly in your coat. It does have a top flap, which I'm not keen on these as a feature in general on coats. This is fully removable. So if, like me, you're not a fan, you can remove this little section. So in terms of style, it is a single-breasted style. It is also fully lined, and it's fully lined with 100% viscose, which makes a nice change from 100% or a poly blend of some kind, which high street brands normally tend to go for. But this is one thing that sort of Arket tends to stand out from the crowd with, is that they use a lot of viscose. Now, in terms of size and fit, I would say this is definitely a slightly looser design, not necessarily oversized, but looser just in cut and fit. And that's a bonus because if, like me, and I've deliberately kept on this chunky jumper underneath when I'm trying these pieces on, so that I can just sort of gauge and see how much room I've got for chunkier knitwear, which is the sort of knitwear that we'll all be wearing throughout the winter seasons. And you know what? This coat has got plenty of room. It's got plenty of room under the armpits, in the sleeves. I don't feel like I'm stuffed in here like a little sausage. There's lots of room, all the flexibility in the arms. It doesn't feel tight across the back. Now, this comes in sizes 32 to 44, which, just for your reference, is the UK equivalent of a size 4 to a 16. I am wearing this in a size 38 and I would say that fit is perfect. So no need to size up or no need to size down. Right, my next piece of outerwear is by far my favourite. I am no stranger to Arket's re-down coats, and this is a new one for this season. Now, can we just take a moment for this colour? Burgundy, of course, is a huge trend for this season, but as I've mentioned many times before, it's not just limited to being a trend for one season. It's not just a one-season wonder, if you like. Burgundy is such a classic, very beautiful, very chic colour that you'll be able to whip out season after season after season. So even if, like me, you're not really into buying into trends for the sake of them being a trend, don't be put off burgundy because it's not something that will just be worn for one season and then you'll be done with it. You can whip this out autumn-winter season after autumn-winter season. Now, Arket is by far my #1 recommendation when it comes to down-filled coats and jackets, or puffer coats as they're sometimes known. These are by far the best in my personal opinion. Right, let's get on to style. So as I've mentioned, this one is called the Relaxed Fit, and it does what it says on the tin. It's definitely more a relaxed fit in comparison to, shall we say, the core read-down pieces that Arket tend to bring out autumn winter season after autumn winter season. Those ones seem to be a little bit more fitted. That said, it doesn't feel oversized or absolutely ginormous. There's just a little bit of extra space in there. So with that in mind, you do not need to size up. I go for a size small in all of my read-down pieces, and that goes for this one included. Now, as a winter coat, these coats, any of them, any of the read-down range from Arket, I can 100% give my recommendation to for winter warmth. And that's not just for wearing in this country. I've been to Munich, I've been to New York, all wearing an Arket read-down coat, and they have been amazing. Right, my next item within the coats category is this quilted jacket. Now, these type of nylon jackets are always made from some sort of synthetic fabric. So that's not a negative, it is just the style and what these jackets tend to be made out of, unless you're going for something like a wax jacket, which tend to be made from a cotton waxed canvas, but then they don't tend to be quilted. They're just, a wax jacket is just smooth. So anything with this sort of quilted design is usually made from a nylon, polyester, or one of those kind of artificial fibres. Now, rather controversially, I don't mind poppers on this sort of jacket, even though it is still adult clothing. The issue where I have poppers is on nice, sophisticated wool coats. I just don't think they belong on clothing like that. But on something like this, I don't see it as so much of an issue. I would prefer a zip, but again, not much of an issue. Now, this is sort of a mid-length jacket. It covers part of the top of my thighs. Of course, that's going to depend on how tall you are. I actually really like the length of this jacket. I'm trying it on in black, but I really wanted to get, there's a beautiful sort of mid-green, very countryside green if we're being honest. I wanted to get that, but it sold out very quickly. And in terms of fit, it is another quite loose fitting jacket. It does have poppers up the side, so you can close or open the vents, which of course give it even more room. And it's got nice wide sleeves, which as you can see here, there are more poppers on the sleeve. You can adjust the sleeve slightly with this little tab. Can't say it makes a massive amount of difference, but if you're someone that wanted to wear a wider sleeve piece of knitwear underneath, like the fuzzy one that I've got on underneath, there's plenty of room. Again, lots of room under the armpits in here. Maybe not enough for a bat wing sort of jumper because they're a little bit higher than on the first wool coat, but you've definitely got space in here for something that's a little bit chunkier and looser fitting. And my final piece of outerwear is another wool coat. This one is 80% responsible wool standard certified wool, which is what Arket tend to use. And it is the shawl wool coat. Now, this is actually very similar. It's a very similar style to one of the H&M premium coats that I tried on within that wool coat try on video. It's got the same sort of bathrobe, dressing gown, wrap style with the tie. It's unlined, which is just classic of this style of coat because it is a double-faced fabric, and it has this really large shawl collar, which you can sort of really wrap up in, and I don't know, it just feels like it's a very chic coat, but it also just feels like a very snuggly, nice, warm coat. Now, depending on where you live in the world, these kind of double-faced coats might not be warm enough for your winters. You might have to go for something more like a down coat. But for here in the UK, I often wear double-faced wool and wool cashmere blend coats, and I am just fine. Granted, I've got thermals on underneath and I layer up, but for me, I find these a very suitable winter coat. Now, in terms of fit and size, I am again wearing this in a size 38, and size advice remains the same. No need to size up, no need to size down. And it has nice deep pockets again. And they're angular, which I always think is just better than having direct down pockets or patch pockets, because they sort of leave your hands in an awkward position, whereas when they're at an angle, your hands would naturally slide into the sides and just sit a bit more naturally. Right, I am now moving on to my second category, which is trousers and jeans. Now, admittedly, I tend to skip Arket's trouser selection. I often don't even entertain it just because from experience, their trousers are never long enough for me. But as this is a try on video and I do these videos so that I try on, give you my feedback, and hopefully it makes you guys avoid any purchases that could just waste time, effort and money, I thought I'd give some a try. Now, this first pair of jumbo cord trousers, very retro, but I thought I would give them a try. I actually really liked them on the model. It's not something I would typically go for, but length was an issue. So they are a high rise with a wide leg and a central pleat that runs down the centre, which is a little bit disguised given that these trousers do have a jumbo cord texture to them. So essentially they are striped all the way down, which does have a nice lengthening effect. So if you are a little bit shorter, these might make your legs look a little bit longer with that vertical stripe. On me, however, they are just too short by, I would say, maybe about an inch. They're sort of just swinging at an odd length, which for a wide leg, maybe for something more tapered, I wouldn't mind so much, but for a wide leg and for a pair of trousers that really should be seeing me through winter, this is not a pair that I would entertain given the length. So I'm trying them on in this beautiful sort of chocolatey brown colour, but they do also come in a navy and they come in sizes 32 to 44, which again, just from memory, I believe is a UK 4 to a UK 16. And size-wise, I would say they are true to size with regards to waist, obviously not so much with length for me. And just for your reference, I always leave my height and size details below in every description box that is a fashion video. They're all down there so that you guys can sort of gauge in terms of size. Right, now I've got my first pair of Arket jeans. I have had Arket jeans in the past. I still have a few pairs left in my collection. I like them, but I think for the price, there's not really anything to sort of write home about. There's not anything for me personally that makes them stand out and that makes them worth paying that, I would say, slightly more inflated price tag for a pair of high street jeans. So these are the high azalea slim fit jeans with stretch. So they're 99% cotton and 1% elastane, which if any of you watched the M&S denim sort of comparison try on video that I did a few weeks back, you would have seen, or rather heard me mention, that the 99% cotton and 1% elastane is my go-to denim. That 1%, it's such a small amount, but it does make all the difference when it comes to comfort factor, especially when you've got a slightly tighter fitting pair of jeans, which these are a little bit snug around the thigh area. And then unlike a pair of skinnies, they do taper down to, well, the clue is in the name, it's a slim fit, not a skinny fit. And I'm not someone that favours a skinny jean. I have maybe 3 pairs in my denim collection. They're not my go-to. They come in useful, especially for wearing certain boots and certain footwear and for balancing out proportions sometimes when I'm wearing a really oversized knit. But in terms of comfort, they're not my favourite because they fit so tightly behind the knees. So therefore, I would favour a slim fit, which give you just that little bit of extra space, versus a skinny. And in terms of size, these come in waist sizes. So I am trying on a size 28, which would be classed as a UK 10. I would say they fit perfectly. They are a more high-rise style, so there is a little bit of gappage at the back, but otherwise I would say they are a perfect fit. Going back to trousers now and making another return to colour of the season, burgundy. These are the high waist pleated trousers. Now I don't know if Arket have changed these because a few years ago when we used to have an Arket store in Bluewater, I used to get these trousers. I had them in black and I had them in camel and then like a grey beige, a greyish colour. I don't know if they've changed the fabric of these. These are 43% responsible wool standard wool, and then the rest is polyester. But I feel like I cannot feel the wool in there. They just feel, they almost feel like, remember when you used to be able to, or you still can, get kids' school trousers from, you know, like a uniform shop, and they were made of probably 100% polyester because they needed to be robust. They sort of feel like that. And I mean, when you're a kid, you don't really care what you're wearing, and when you're a parent, you just want them to be practical and you want them to last. But as a grown-up, yeah, I'm not really sure of this fabric. So these are a bit of a miss for me. They're a beautiful colour. And you know what? They move quite nicely. They drape nicely. Again, they're another pair that's too short for me. So Arket trousers, yes, they're just something that I just don't even entertain unless they're cropped. The denim works slightly differently, which to me is just baffling. Like, I don't understand why the denim is long enough, but the trousers are not. But there we go, that's retail logic for you. And now on to my final, is it? Yes, my final item from the jeans and trousers category, and it is another pair of jeans. These are the Shore Relaxed jeans. I think they're called Shore Low Relaxed. Now, unfortunately, I ordered these in a size 28, but I got sent a 30. So I'm afraid that this is not going to be a very accurate try on. Like, they're very baggy. They're quite low slung on my hips as well because the waist is too big. But it's a shame really, because otherwise I think they're quite a nice pair of jeans. I wanted to try on a different style in comparison to the slim ones. I also wanted to try on a different colour, which is why I went for black. And I think size aside, they are actually a nice pair of jeans. Now, these are 100% cotton, which wouldn't, as I mentioned earlier, be my favourable composition of the fabric. But because they are a more relaxed pair of jeans, they don't fit tightly. Therefore, it doesn't make them feel uncomfortable, and I wouldn't class that as a negative. So they do feel more like a proper pair of jeans. Now, these ones are quite nice in the sense that they are a lower rise. So they're not high rise. I think they're classed as mid to low rise. So for me, I'd suffer a bit of bloating, and I find high rise jeans can sometimes be really uncomfortable. So I have to have a bit of a mix of high rise and lower rise in my collection, just for certain days, depending on what reaction I've had to a certain food I've maybe eaten. And so these are a lot more comfortable around the waist for me. Also, given the fact that they are 2 sizes too large for me as well. So yes, unfortunately, first impressions would be that I think I quite like them as a pair of jeans, but I can't accurately comment on size, given that I wasn't sent the correct size that I would have wanted to try on. Moving on to the next category, and my favourite category, not just in today's video, not just for autumn winter, but my favourite category in life, and it is knitwear. I have such a passion for knitwear. I'm very much a knitwear girl. Right, so I've just popped this on over the basic t-shirt that I had underneath my fuzzy jumper. And I did that deliberately because I wanted to feel how this fabric, with it being an alpaca blend, feels on my skin. It actually doesn't feel itchy for me. I have zero intolerance to natural fibres like wool, definitely no intolerance to cashmere, thankfully. Otherwise, my whole wardrobe collection, my whole knitwear collection would be doomed. But I have no intolerance whatsoever. So obviously just bear that in mind when you're trying to think about these fabrics. I don't feel any itch, and I've obviously got bare arms from about here downwards, and these are like quite tight fitting arms as well. As I'm moving about, I'm getting the friction on my skin, I don't feel any itching, so it does feel nice and soft. Now, in terms of fabric composition, it's 31% alpaca, 31% wool, and then the rest of the fibres are synthetic, which just goes to make up for durability, especially when it comes to knitwear pieces. You want them to last a bit longer. That's why a lot of brands tend to mix in some synthetic fibres in there just to make things last a little bit longer. And style-wise and fit-wise, this does only come in 2 sizes. So it comes in an extra small/small and then a medium/large. I have got the extra small/small on, which I think covers all sizes, if memory serves me correctly, up to a size 10. For wintertime, wearing out and about, I know I've said that it would be something you could wear as part of a daily outfit. I feel like cardigans like this are just a bit tricky when you're wearing a coat over the top because it almost feels like a coat in itself, given that it's a wrap style. So I don't really know how that would work, but maybe if you're in an office environment, it's something that you may keep in the office and just throw on. It's something that's just nice and cozy. But yeah, I think this is a good solid option. No itch for me personally, and just a beautiful colour. Right, so I'm now going to move on to some of Arket's cashmere selection. I've got 3 of their cashmere pieces, and this was a brand that fit into the High Street Cashmere review video that I did a couple of years ago. My points on the brands featured within that video still stand even though it's 2 years old. I have felt no need to refresh that video, update it and make a new one. So I will leave a link down to that in the description box below this video if anyone wants to hear my thoughts. So this is their classic roll neck. They've had this style for a few autumn winter seasons now and it's £179. Now, rather controversially, Arket's cashmere up until this season has not all been 100% cashmere. So this item, for example, is 75% cashmere, 25% wool. You can feel it in the softness. It's definitely not as soft, and that's a given. It's never going to be as soft as 100% cashmere, but it does add, I don't know, a bit more robustness to the fabric. Cashmere is a very, very fine fabric, or very, very fine fibre. So if you're mixing it with wool, it's definitely going to give it a little bit more durability. This feels a lot softer. There's still 75% cashmere fibres in here. It feels a lot softer than a wool jumper. It's just not as soft as 100% cashmere. And I say from experience because I've got some of their older styles from a few years ago, which are the same 75% cashmere, 25% wool. They wash really well, they wear really well. They don't bubble quite as much. You still get bubble in the areas of friction, but they don't bubble quite as much as 100% cashmere. Now, this style that I have on has got one, what I would class as major flaw. And if I just turn to the side, I'm raising my arms obviously, but if I just have them down, the slit still comes to like above my waist. And I just think, why? On a piece that's supposed to keep you warm, why would you add giant slits to the side? It's just, no. No, 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 no. Now, they did have a style on past seasons, which was actually just a full-length style with no slits. I also feel that they've changed the neck. So I have got the neck, it's a very, very long neck. And I have got the neck rolled over just once. So a single roll, so the fabric is doubled over. And it is still, in my opinion, too high. I don't want something that's constantly touching my chin. I would prefer it to be, let's see, yeah, maybe around there. I'd say that is a more reasonable height for a neck to be. It's not sort of constantly touching my jawline. And finally, just with regards to size, I'm wearing a size small. They are a more relaxed fit. I don't think you need to size up. You definitely don't need to size down. If you wanted to size up, I would size up by no more than just 1, and that would just give you a little bit of extra slouch. But still, I just think these slits they're just super annoying. And then moving on, this is the crew neck version of their 75% cashmere, 25% wool. So it's essentially the same sort of fit. It's again a very relaxed fit. I'd say it's maybe slightly more relaxed than the turtleneck. It has those same deep, ribbed, wide cuffs, but it has no turtleneck. It is just a crew neck. Now this one has side splits as well, which again, I find annoying, A, just because it's a piece of knitwear and I don't want anything interfering with the hemline. I just want it left alone. But B, because when you go to do like, you might be able to see in this side camera, but when I do a little half front tuck like that, where you want the piece of knitwear to drape nicely, like the jumper I had on earlier, the fuzzy one, you want it to hang. But look what happens on the side. You've got the slits there, so it just does this. I just don't get it. I think it's a really bad design choice that they've made, adding in any of these side vents. Otherwise, I think I prefer this fit of the crew neck versus the turtleneck. I just think it's a nice, slightly more relaxed, hasn't got that annoying element of the super, super long neck. The slits aren't quite as offensive, but otherwise, really beautiful colour. It also comes in a burgundy, which I know I'm harping on about burgundy a lot, but it is a very nice colour, very festive as well. But this beautiful green is also very appealing for the autumn winter seasons. So this one a little bit more of a thumbs up, and it feels nice. Again, 75% cashmere, so not as soft as 100% cashmere. But that leads me on nicely. It's a perfect little segue to my next item, which is Arket's first piece of 100% cashmere. So first things first, it's going to come with a price increase from the 75% cashmere. This is £249. So that's now putting us on par with cost cashmere, which is around about £230 to £250 depending on the style. Some of the high neck styles are a little bit higher in price. So we're on a level price with costs. However, this is the drawback. This cashmere does not feel anywhere near as thick as cost cashmere. It also doesn't feel as soft. I can feel a very slight softness in comparison to the 75% cashmere, but for 100% cashmere, I would be expecting the COS level, which COS for me is the creme de la creme of high street cashmere. Not quite of all, but of high street cashmere. I'm on the Arket website a lot, and I have never seen 100% cashmere in a piece of their knitwear prior to now. And at the time of filming this, or at least at the time of buying these items to film this video, this was the only piece available. And it's the only colour that this comes in, which is a very nice colour, navy blue. I kind of think that maybe they might have been better going for a black for their only piece of 100% cashmere, but it's just my opinion. So in terms of style, the good news is there are no side vents, no splits of any kind. This is the hemline that I want to see. I'm just going to demonstrate that little front tuck. That's what we want. Look at that. Just drapes, tapers nicely. That's exactly what I want from the hemline of a piece of knitwear. Sleeves are quite nice and long as well. Size-wise, I'm wearing this in a small, and it is a more relaxed fit as with all of the others that I've tried on. And I think they're kind of getting used to the sort of fit style that their customers want, because Arket do favour a more relaxed fit in a lot of their items, whether it be shirts or tops or pieces of knitwear. They do have that more relaxed fit to them. It's good for me, and it's one of the reasons why I like Arket, because I myself like a more relaxed fit. So you don't need to size up, don't need to size down. And it's got this, it's almost like a cricket jumper, so it's got this shawl neckline. And if we rewind back to one of the new in videos that I did earlier on this season, I did have a white or a creamy colour cotton jumper that was a very similar style with this sort of cricket style shawl neckline. I'm not sure if I were Arket, I would have gone for this neckline as their only piece of 100% cashmere. I'd have gone for something a little bit more versatile and a bit more classic, either a crew neck or a turtleneck, rather than this. It's nice, it just wouldn't be a piece of cashmere knitwear that I would go for over COS, because it does not feel as thick, and COS don't provide the ply on their website of their cashmere, but I can feel it's thick. To me, it feels like 6, maybe even 7 ply cashmere, and it is so soft. This feels marginally softer than the 75% cashmere that I was just trying on, but definitely not as soft as COS. Okay, moving on from cashmere now, but still staying within the knitwear category. This is 31% wool and 31% alpaca, so it's the same fabric as the cardigan, and this is the roll neck jumper. In my opinion, I think this should be called a funnel neck, because it goes up and it stands up, but it's not super high, especially not when you pull the jumper and sort of position it correctly. I just don't think the neck is I'm being really picky about my necklines, aren't I? But I don't think the neck is high enough. I'm going to roll it down just so that you can see. But then it falls at, like, what's that about? It falls at a really awkward, and it's not styled rolled down on the website either. So this is a funnel neck. I'm just going to correct them and say it's a funnel neck. So again, I have got on just the basic t-shirt underneath. And this fabric, despite the fact that it's the exact same as the cardigan, I can feel it itching. I can feel it itching my jawline. And that's the only sort of level of discomfort that I can feel from that, not just the neck in general annoying me. So I can feel it on my neck itself, and I can feel it a little bit on my lower arms. The problem when you feel a little bit of an itch from a piece of knitwear that has a high neck is that, unlike with a crew neck, you could wear a long sleeve basic underneath and there'd be no issues around the neckline. With this, you're not going to want to wear a polar neck over another polar neck, or a funnel neck over a polar neck, so that you can kind of protect your neck. So the itchiness of this would probably bother me a little bit too much to wear it on a long period of time, which is a shame, because actually I really like this jumper. If it weren't for the alpaca element within the jumper, it'd be less itchy. I'd really like this, and this would probably be a repeat purchase of mine. It's got really nice wide sleeves, nice loose fit, no vents or splits again. I like the neckline. You can kind of adjust it, you can sort of fiddle with it, and it's quite structured as well, so you can sort of fold it a bit more like origami style. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Colour is also beautiful. It comes in a few different colours, but there's just that bit of itch factor. So if you have any kind of intolerance to wool and natural fibres, this is going to be an absolute no-go. Moving on now to my final piece within the knitwear category. This is a jumper that I saw online. I saw the way it was styled, and it comes in cream and also a nice deep green. I saw it in both colours. I originally wanted the green, but that sold out, so I got it in the cream colour, and I absolutely loved it. In theory. So this is the wool scarf jumper. It's 100% wool. Yay. It's £119. Not bad value for 100% wool. This scarf is very much attached, which I don't know why I would have thought that it would be detachable, but something in my head was like, surely you would make that detachable. It's not. It is sewn on, and it is a piece of the jumper. The jumper itself is actually quite nice. It does have side vents, although they're not super deep like that first Cashmere one, but it does still have that issue of if you want to do the half tuck. Sleeves are nice. The fabric feels nice. I don't feel any itch given that it's at 100% wool. And in theory, as I said, I really liked the idea of this attached scarf. I thought it would be detachable. But it's just a faff. It's one of those things that's going to keep falling down. Then how do you wear this under a coat? Like, it's just impractical. Now, funnily enough, the green version of this sold out so quickly. So I don't know if it's one of those things that people just wear indoors when you don't necessarily need a piece of outerwear. But how do you get to the indoors? Like, is it just a piece that you wear at home? I think in theory this was a really nice piece, and if this scarf would have been detachable, it could have been one of those pieces that you could wear the scarf just as a scarf, and then you could attach it when you get to wherever you're going, and you could do this whole chic, scarf thing, and it would be great. But it's attached to the shoulder, and I just think it seems a bit impractical. Right, now I'm going to move on to my next category, which is activewear. Now, Arket's activewear is actually one of my favourites on the high street. Now, they've got a new piece for this season, which I haven't seen before, and it's one of their sort of jersey fleeces. It's 100% cotton, 98% of which is organic cotton. And I've got this to try in two colours because it comes in cream and it comes in burgundy. Now, although this is cotton, it does have the soft, really, really soft, fleecy brushed inside, so the fabric is quite nice and thick. So I'd say it is more appropriate for this time of year, given that it is going to be a little bit cooler. I'm not necessarily sure you could get away with just this, like outside, maybe if you're doing something more like a run. Right, I'm just going to put the burgundy colour on for now, and I will try on the cream in the cutaways. So initially, as you can see, it is a little bit more of a, I don't want to call it cropped because it's not super cropped, but it is a slightly shorter style, and it's not got a super elasticated or tighter fitting hemline. So it is more the kind of thing that you would just wear over your joggers or over your leggings. It's not something that's going to be tighter and therefore more like a hoodie where you can blouse it over and ruche it over. Now I did upsize in this. This is the only thing that I upsized in. I think I actually could have got away with the size small, but I bought a medium. It's not too large, but I just think I needn't have sized up. I think Arket's relaxed fit has pretty much got me covered, but something in my head was telling me you need to size up in this, you want the extra slouch. And I suppose I could fit a few more layers underneath as we go into the much colder days of winter in a couple of months' time. But yeah, I think size-wise I didn't need to size up, but it definitely doesn't offend me being a little bit more slouchy. Yeah, I don't know, I just really like this. It's got a kangaroo pocket at the front, so it's fully joined, both my hands can touch each other in there, so it's more like a hoodie pocket. And I think it's just a little bit more interesting in comparison to a hoodie. Obviously it doesn't have a hood, but it's got this big chunky collar, big funnel neck that stands up. It's nice and structured, gives a bit of protection against wind chill, and this would be something that sits nicely underneath a body warmer or a gilet, or even something more like this quilted coat as well, because this could also be something that I wear out on our morning dog walks. This I very much like. Now it is £77, which I realise is a lot of money. If you're an Arket regular, you're probably used to these prices. If you are not, yes, they can come across as a little bit steep, but it's because they use things like recycled materials and also organic materials, which, as I mentioned, 98% of the 100% cotton used in this is organic. And these are the seamless tights or leggings that I was just referring to. I've probably got about 8 pairs of these. They always come out with really good colours. This season they've brought out this really nice sort of deep green colour. They are, as the title would suggest, seamless. That is a style that I quite like. And they don't have that shine to them like what a lot of sports leggings do. Some of H&M's can be a bit of hit and miss because they can have that slightly more like lycra, 80s shininess to the fabric. These don't have that. They're very, very matte. They're just incredibly comfortable. I find them a really good fit. They don't ride down. I can use them for anything. Walking, day-to-day outfits, dog walking, going for a run, any of that stuff. I just think they're really great. Right, now I'm going to move on to accessories, and the first accessory that I'm going to share with you guys is one of my seasonal favourites. It's the Arket alpaca blend beanie hat. So these are made from the same fabric as the cardigan and as that funnel neck jumper that I shared earlier. I've got 2 of their new colours here. I've got this sort of deep forest green and, surprise, surprise, a burgundy. These are really hot colours for this season, but they come in, I think, 11, it could even be more than 11 colours. And this is the only beanie hat that I have ever found flattering on my head, because it's got a double cuff at the top and it's quite a chunky fabric. So for me, it doesn't make me look like I've got like a little condom head. Some beanies just fit really tight, and because they're a thinner fabric, they just suck in the head and make it look like a little pea and make it look like you've got a condom on the top of your head. Now this rim section, if you like, is not stitched into place, so you can adjust it, or you can wear it slightly slouchier like this, like off the back of your head, like a little gnome hat, if you like. So you can adjust it and wear it as your personal preference. And then this is another alpaca and wool blend accessory, and this one is a hood. So it's kind of like a balaclava, but doesn't fully cover the face. And what I like about this is that you could wear it with any coat or any even blazer if it wasn't quite cold enough. I'm going to see if it works with this half zip. But basically it's got a little section that you can sort of just push down into the neckline, and it just makes it look like you've got a nice hoodie on underneath, but without actually having that hoodie on underneath. You can then put it down and it does just look like you've got a hoodie on underneath whatever you're wearing, but without having that bulk of having the actual hoodie on. Now it is that alpaca blend. It doesn't feel quite as itchy as the alpaca blend jumper that I shared earlier, but it's also not as not itchy as the alpaca blend cardigan. So make of that what you will, but it does have a very fluffy texture to it and it definitely feels nice and cozy and warm. Right, and finally I have one of Arket's leather bags. I do have a couple of leather bags from Arket from this season. I'll probably use the other one in styling some of the cutaways for the other pieces on my rail. This one did or was in the recent handbag collection video that I made, so I won't go into too much detail because you guys have probably seen that already, but it's one of the little crossbody styles. It's just a really good little size. It's nice and structured. I think they're incredible quality, especially for the price. Very minimal in design, tiny, tiny, tiny little logo on there, so minimal branding. And as I've said before, I know I sound like a broken record, but if you don't have a big budget for spending on leather goods, you don't have a luxury budget, whether it be pre-loved or new, I think Arket is a really good brand to look at, whether new, maybe for Christmas, or pre-loved. Right, there we go. We've got through the rail. Thank you as always for watching. If you've got a favourite piece, as always, let me know down in the comments below. But for now, that is it from me, and I will see you next time.